What's going on, everybody? I'm AnimusJ, and today we are going to build the most OP food farm for early game Minecraft that you can build. What does that actually mean? Well, let's talk about it a little bit. So if we look right here, getting food in early game Minecraft can be very time consuming and difficult, especially collecting large amounts of it. It takes 2 wheat, you have to wait for that wheat to grow, and then you feed it to 2 different cows to get a baby cow, then you wait for that baby cow to grow and you kill it to get its beef, and then you cook it with coal in order to get cooked beef. Same thing with pigs, except we use carrots, and then you could just go for the crops themselves. 3 wheat makes 1 piece of bread, which does not fill up your stomach very well at all. Carrots individually do not fill you up very well at all. We could grow potatoes and cook them, but then we have to harvest large amounts of them. We have to cook them, and it still is not the best. Automatic chicken farms are very, very nice. However, they are not an early game farm, as they do take a long time to build up the good amount of chicken to be able to take it from. But they do automatically breed and cook and kill the chickens in order for you to eat them. They just take a long time to build up your original stock of chickens and then to build up a back stock of cooked chicken to be able to take from regularly. I do have a video popping up in the top right hand corner where you can learn how to build an automatic chicken farm, but it's not a very early game, it's more of a middle game kind of farm. Fish, on the other hand, spawn on their own, and we can make it so that they die on their own, and we can control where they spawn and how they die. So if we make a fish farm, and I don't mean a fishing farm with a fishing rod, but a fish farm where the fish are collected and killed from spawning on their own, we can get extremely large amounts of fish in just a small amount of time. So this farm, for example, has been running for, I'm going to say, maybe 15 minutes maximum. And I have 2 stacks, almost 2.5 stacks of cod. And I have a half stack of raw salmon and almost a stack of bones from it. And all I've done is build the farm and stand here talking to you guys. Now, this farm is a very easy farm to build. It is a very early game farm that can be built within the first probably 2 hours easily of having created your world, because all you need is half slabs in order to build the floor, and you don't even have to build these magma blocks where they are. You can put normal blocks right here and it'll still work. It just doesn't work quite as well as if you have the magma blocks. Same thing with the magma blocks on the floor. They can be substituted for regular blocks. It just works much faster if you have magma blocks down there instead. Now, the hoppers are necessary, so you do have to find the iron for that, but with 5 hoppers total, that's only a total of 25 pieces of iron that you have to find, and that doesn't take very long at all. Even though I've used glass around the outside for the walls, that's not necessary either. You can use any kind of full-sized block in order to close it in. And then for lighting, you don't have to use anything fancy. You can just use torches and it'll keep everything illuminated just fine so that mobs don't spawn. Now, this is 32 blocks above the ocean, and all I've done in order to get up there is created a temporary pillar that I'm going to break down eventually, and I've done a waterfall off the side of it so that I can swim up and down the waterfall in order to get to and from my farm. Once you have enough resources to do it, you can build a water elevator. There should be a link popping up in the right hand corner of the video right now, where you can build a water elevator that uses redstone at the bottom, and it's a 1 single column elevator that trades out soul sand for magma blocks in order to get up and down within the same water column very easily. So there is a description below this video that has an entire list of all the resources that you will be able to use. I will mention as well which blocks are optional and which blocks are necessary. And as you can see, it's really not that complicated. Really, all we have is an 8x16 platform on both sides. And if you're really starved for blocks, you can even cut it in half and only build one of the halves of this and leave the other half off for a little bit less functioning, but still fully functioning fish farm. So according to the Minecraft wiki, fish can spawn from 12 to 32 blocks away from the player in water. And there are specific fish that spawn in different types of water, and that's why we have to kind of poke around a little bit in order to find the right kind of water in order to build our farm above. So, in considering your spot, you want to find a place where both salmon and cod are spawning. This river, for example, only has salmon. Now, you might have to stand there for a minute and watch, but it's going to only spawn salmon if it's a river. Now, depending on your map, you may have ponds or lakes like this one that will spawn. However, you have to watch because this one, for example, I stared at for a good 5 minutes and not one fish spawned at all. Same thing with these two over here, no fish at all. So just because there's water doesn't necessarily mean that fish are going to spawn. Now, these are rivers connected to the ocean, so I might get a cod every now and then depending on where the border of the ocean is lined up, but it's best to find a spot where you have lots of cod and lots of salmon spawning all the time. For example, this area right here has plenty of cod that are spawned already, even though I just got to it. And there's some salmon as well. And then the same thing over here in this little bay is that if I stand here for a minute, just a couple blocks away from the water, you'll see that we get lots of spawns of both cod and salmon as well. So even though this is a separate area from the ocean, it is connected to the ocean, and as far as fish spawning, it's considered a part of it. You can see we have lots of cod, even though I've only been standing here for about 12 seconds, and there's the salmon. So this would be an ideal place to build the farm because you can see in only 30 seconds we've gotten maybe 30 fish. Like, that's a whole lot. So this is a good place to build the fish farm. Now, I can't tell you in your individual world where to build yours, but you want to look for places like this where there are tons of fish that spawn all within a small close area. Okay, so because your landscape is going to be different from mine, now one thing you want to keep in mind is that you need to have at least 16 blocks of room in order to build this farm, because we're going to build it 16 across. I suppose you could make it smaller if you wanted to, but if you really want to get the most out of it, or rather at least get a lot out of it, then you're going to want 16 blocks of space. So what you want to look at, though, in consideration for exactly where to build it, is you see how the landscape kind of slopes off like this? You don't want to build it any closer than this slope. As you can see, there's not even any fish between about right here and the shore. And so that's where we want to build it, is once it gets down kind of to the bottom level of where it's going to be. So if I pillar out, now mind you, these pink blocks that I'm using, if you got everything that I put down in the description that is necessary for building this, anything that I build with a pink block is just a temporary block that's not actually necessary to the farm and can be broken later. So I'm going to build it out to right there because I think that's going to be a good spot where fish are going to spawn in that direction of this block. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up by 32 blocks from this block. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 32 should put you at level 95 on your y-axis, if I can count correctly. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make a path out by 8 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, this is where my chest is going to go. It doesn't have to be exact, though you don't want it to be below like that. You want it to be up like this. So I'm going to put a double chest just like so, And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around to the back of it, and I'm going to put one hopper into the back, and then I'm going to put a hopper on top, and then I'm going to make a set of hoppers that's 2 by 2, all facing into this hopper. So we're going to put one into there, one into that one back into the original, and it should look just like so, so that if I drop anything into any one of these hoppers, it's going to end up coming into my chest. Okay, so if you are building this in survival, you are going to fall off. So what I recommend doing, place another block right there next to your pillar, and then take one of your water buckets and place it right there. What that's going to do is it's going to enable you to fall off and then swim back up your waterfall. Just what you want to do is when you're swimming up your waterfall, you want to keep your head out of the water just like this and swim up kind of in the corner like so in order to get back up again. And the other thing is, if you're like me and you forgot some materials, which I always do, then you can now jump down, go get your stuff, and swim back up again. So if you have the magma blocks to be able to do this part, what you're going to want to do now is you're going to go out by 7 in both directions extending laterally from where you've pillared up at. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now you're holding crouch in order to place these without getting burnt by them. And then we're going to turn around and we're going to reconnect it up to our hopper. Then we're going to go the other direction as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Turn it around, bring it back, and connect it up to the hopper. So it should look just like so. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to build up your walls, and you're going to build them up by 1 all the way around with whatever material it is that you want to use. So your wall is going to extend all the way around the outside of your magma blocks, just like so. Or if you used any other kind of block for your floor because you don't have magma blocks, the same thing still applies. Then what you're going to do is coming up to the second level, if you are using the magma blocks once again, that's going to be another layer of magma blocks coming out like so. And then the middle can be whatever block you want it to be. It's not necessary. No mobs are ever going to touch that spot. And then another layer coming back like so, and then glass on the outside. Now what we're going to do is we're going to extend our wall up by 1 more block on whichever side it is that we're on, and then we're going to come out by 8 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then we're going to turn in towards the center of our farm, and that should make it to where if you take your half slabs off of that magma block, you should be able to add 7 half slabs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we have a wall. So you should have 7 half slabs and then 1 magma block and then your canal. Make sure that it's like that because otherwise your farm is not going to run correctly with the water and you're going to have to redo it. So then what you're going to do extending in this direction is you're going to put 17 blocks, including this one though. So 1, 2, 3, and then 17 should bring you even with the wall. I sped it up a little bit and I didn't count. And then we're just going to connect it up just like so. And then all you got to do is fill in your slab floor. Then once that's filled in, you're just going to repeat the exact same thing, but over on this side. The key is make sure that from your magma block you have 7 slabs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then wrap your wall all the way around it. And once that's done, the last thing that we need to do is add in our water and also torch the area up. So we're going to add in torches just around the farm, and the reason for that is we don't actually want mobs to spawn in our farm. I mean, you could, but the only thing you're going to spawn is drowns, and the only thing they're going to give you is maybe a nautilus shell every now and then, and some rotten flesh, which is, of course, not exactly appealing, and also really all it's going to do is clog up the system. So I recommend lighting it up. You can leave it dark if you want to, but I personally recommend lighting it up. So if you are in survival mode and you got all the materials, just like I said down in the description, what you're going to want to do is you're going to come down and make sure that you are above where your platform is, and you're going to break out a block. Then over that block, or in place of that block, you're going to want to put a trap door, and then make sure you're above your spot. Okay, make sure you're above your little bridge, and you're going to drop down. Then what you can do is you can just simply make a little pillar getting up to there with a couple of ladders, and now you can get in and out of your farm, no worries, and the water's not going to leak down. So what you want to do is you want to pick up this first water source that you did and promise not to fall, okay? Otherwise you got to take the long ways up. Once you have your 2 buckets of water that you brought, you're going to put one in the corner, and then you're going to come over by 2 blocks and you're going to put the other one. It's going to create an infinite source in the middle. Now listen, when you're putting down your water, do not click on the slab, because as you can see, what it does is it logs the slab with water and makes the water go underneath. You have to instead click on the glass. If you end up if you end up logging one of your slabs with water, you can still get the water back up again. You just got to take an empty bucket and click on the slab itself and you will pick it back up. So clicking on the glass, do one and then space skip one and do another one, and that'll give you an infinite water source in between them that will constantly come back in order to refill your buckets. Once you've refilled your bucket, you want to drop back down again, and you want to put your water source down because you're gonna fall. As a matter of fact, what I'd like you to do is go down into the comments right now and let me know how many times have you fallen so far building this farm. I can tell you that myself, when I was building it in Survival on J-World, I think I fell about 4 times, and I had to make one trip in order to go get stuff that I had not realized that I needed. So go ahead and carry out your water sources. There needs to be one on every single glass block on the wall, pointing towards your magma blocks. Go to the other side, do the same thing. And it should look just like so. The water should end right on the magma blocks, just like mine is right now. And then the last and final thing that you need to do is take your buttons, put your buttons above each one of the hoppers, just like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to place water there on both sides, and then over here as well. And what that's going to do is that is going to push all of the fish and drops into those hoppers. The fish will die on top of the hoppers if they don't die previous to it. And there you go. That is your farm all functioning. I'm actually surprised that we haven't seen any fish spawning yet. But, oh, and there they go right there, just like that. Now, if you see them bouncing out like that, it's actually extremely rare. I didn't encounter it at all on J-World, but what you can do if you need to is you can go ahead and build this up a layer. If you did build your wall out of solid blocks, make sure that it's illuminated with torches, otherwise mobs will spawn on it, or you can half slab the top of it, and that will prevent both fish from hopping out like that one did, and mobs from spawning. Now, one other thing that of course you need in order to make it work is you need an AFK platform. As I mentioned earlier, the fish will spawn from 12 to 32 blocks away from you. So what you can do is you can literally just go out 12 blocks in any direction and stand there, and they will begin spawning. And that's why when we stood in this corner, we get them spawning over in that corner, is because they are far enough away to be able to do it. What I personally like to do though is come back by 1 block, and then I'm going to go up by 12. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little platform. So I'm going to come up 1 more, that way it's 13. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a platform made out of glass. I'm going to break out this one right here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ladders, and I'm going to do ladders all the way down. That way I can get up here again. Now I'm going to put a roof over my head because we don't want banshees coming in and killing me while I'm AFK. Banshees, by the way, are what I call phantoms. So if you don't know what a banshee is, I mean phantoms. I just can never remember the name of them, so I've given up and I call them banshees. I'm going to close myself in completely just in case, just like so. Now what I can do is I can stand in here, and I can AFK safely. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to put a trapdoor right there like so. And that is going to keep me completely closed in. Now I can stand right here and I can watch through my glass platform, and I can see all of my fish drowning or dying and filling up my chest, which is going to fill up my belly. Now, in order to genuinely AFK on Bedrock Edition, Pocket, Console, etc., you do have to be clicking on something. There are auto-clicking scripts that you can download. I don't know anything about those. Personally, I play on Windows 10 Edition, so I have my F8 key bound to be able to constantly hold right click. So I've just pressed it. You can't see anything happening right now, but if I turn around to where the trapdoor is, you can see both placed one, and it's constantly clicking one, and that's because technically I'm holding right click even though I'm not actually doing it. So there you have it, guys. That is the farm all complete. All you got to do is AFK up there, and you don't even have to wait for that long. If you don't have scripts or anything like that, auto clickers, it doesn't take very long at all to be able to build up a pretty decent collection. You can see just in the probably 5 to 10 minutes, maximum 5 to 10 minutes, that I've had us running with water so far, we've had over a stack of fish already go into the chest, and we have plenty more here. Now, don't worry about these guys. They'll eventually work their way down to the magma blocks and get cooked. And then the other thing that happens is when they spawn in schools, the schools will bump these guys, and the schools all seem to just pour right in at the same time. So that is it for this tutorial, you guys. If it helps you out, please do leave me a like and let me know in the comments how it works out on your world. I would love to hear from you. And if you have Twitter, follow me on Twitter. The link is down in the description below, and send me some screenshots of your farm in your survival world, because I'd love to see how you ended up making it. That's it for today though, guys. I'm AnimusJ, and I'll see you next time.